I'm so sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties. Thank you so much for throwing that out there. So we'll go ahead and say our welcomes again since you didn't hear us. Um, so yeah, starting off today, we're going to be talking about some just lies in general about the Globio model um, all the different thoughts, more of the scientific aspects of it, as well as just some general ideas um, of things that don't make sense in our in our current era. So I'll throw it over to Anthony. He can say his hello. So yeah, how you doing, Anthony?
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Yeah, round two. Yeah, we were going to get into some of the scientifics and the general thoughts about the globular lie that we've been taught our entire lives, and kind of how we transitioned from from getting away from the lies and getting into what the true Earth and everything that we live on actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also supposed to have Rabbit here now. Um, I think he's just running a little late, so hopefully he will come. If not, then we'll just have to continue the discussion with him another time. He did bring up that he wanted to kind of talk more about the the cosmology of it. So we'll definitely get into that, and then yeah. So I'll throw it off to Daryl. Daryl, you can try and say hello and say hi to the people. Well, looks like he may be having some um, connection issues, but no worries. So we could just kind of get into it about what we're going to talk. If Daryl, if you want to jump in at any point and say your hellos, feel free to. That being said, so and thank you, Tacky, for the animation. Yeah, it took me some while, and I actually have some really cool ideas for the future. Like at one point, we're gonna definitely talking about the Tower of Babel. I'd love to have like a little Tower of Babel being built throughout the conversation and the animation. That'd be really cool, and some other things like that. So look forward to those. And this is our fourth episode, so things like intro songs and outro songs and all that stuff, we're still working on, and of course it will get better and better as we continue on. But back to the subject, enclosed cosmology. First thing that I want to talk about today is so today at my Sabbath service, we were discussing the temple, and where it comes to the part where it's talking specifically about the size of it, it gives the dimensions of that. Well, if you take that and you extrapolate it over into our feet, you're talking about something that literally makes no sense. Like a square sitting on a circle, literally the four corners wouldn't even be touching the surface of the earth. And that one of the gentlemen that I go to that congregation with, he was like, that would throw it off the axis, and how would that even work? And that's kind of the lies, like some of those things that we're told, that we kind of do these mental gymnastics to get around the fact that it doesn't make sense with the model that we're talking about. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up, and I've told this to other people before, is how people will take experts' knowledge over their own experience. And an example of that is, let's say you're just standing there and a guy walks up to you and just straight punches you in the face, and you definitely got punched in the face. But then moments later, a an expert fighter, someone who's won multiple championships, let's just use Tyson as example. He comes up and he says, "Hey, I saw what just happened. I'm an expert fighter. You did not just get punched in the face. Would you believe an expert over your own experience?" Just like the experts tell us that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and you say, "Well, I don't feel like I'm experiencing that." And they'll say, "Well, it's just because you can't. It's just so slow you wouldn't notice." And all this jazz. So are you going to believe your experience of you standing still and you looking up into the sky and seeing the sun and the moon move and the stars move? Or are you going to believe an expert that we're actually falling back 1,000 miles an hour and the sun and the moon are actually just staying still? I don't know. Who would you trust, Anthony? Yourself
I,
or some expert?
I, I would trust my senses, man. I definitely, and honestly, that's what I've done my whole life. Even though I got in a lot of trouble for it, I remember the first time I ever saw the ocean. I asked my dad. I said, "Well, I had already heard about the globe, and but the teacher holds this globe up in the classroom and says, back in the day, everybody used to think the Earth was flat. Ha 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 ha!" And the whole class just laughed right along with her, except for me. I didn't laugh because I thought it was preposterous. Why would anybody not think the Earth was flat? And then I saw the ocean, and I asked my dad. I said, "Dad, why can't I see the curve from left to right?" And then he pointed to a ship that was, I don't know how far out there. I could see it real well. It seemed like it was just right there, maybe a mile or two. Uh, he said, "Watch that ship. Eventually, it'll sail over the curve of the Earth." Well, about 3 days later, I asked my dad again. I said, "I'm still seeing that ship out there. I've been watching the same ship for 3 days." And I asked him again. I said, "Why couldn't I see the curve from left to right looking out across the ocean?" He said, "Don't ever ask that question again." That he told me that the first time, and then the second time I asked him, he said, "Follow me inside." He tore my butt up. He said, "Don't you ever ask that question again." So at a young age, 6, 7, whatever I was, at a young age, I was beat to be asking questions, you know, and that kind of lived with me for a long time, until I started hearing about a different perspective of things. And then all of a sudden, all my senses made sense. Just my hearing, my sight, my touch, my feel, all that, my common sense. It all made sense to me then.
Yeah, you didn't have to do any mental gymnastics to figure it out. You literally just observed what you saw and knew that was real. And I've talked about this before. I talked to my kids about, all the different lies that are out there, and like one being dinosaurs. And I'll be like, "Hey, kids, have you ever seen a lion? Yeah, we went to the zoo. Have you ever seen a giraffe? Yeah, we saw him at the zoo. Have you ever seen a velociraptor? No. Have you ever seen a Tyrannosaurus Rex? No. Well, yeah, I saw him in cartoons." And I was like, "Oh, are those cartoons real?" And they're like, "No, they're just pretend." And so it's like super simple to deal with these lies. I feel like my kids obviously have a better chance because they weren't indoctrinated into believing lies and, had parts of their being attached to those lies. So it's much easier for them to just see the world as it is and trust their eyes. And Witsit Austin has said it a lot of times where they have literally made so many people, the mass majority of the world, to not be able to trust their own senses and always have to seek authority in order for clarification on those mental gymnastic ideas. And it's just so crazy to me, that even with a lot of the people that I go to service with, Sabbath service with, they work for a company that does a lot of aerospace type of stuff, i.e., satellites and stuff. And my elder Matt, he is so adamant. He's like, I've sent satellites up to space. Now I did show him, satelloons and all that information, and we were kind of talking this before with Nick, and Nick is supposed to be joining us, but he may be having some technical difficulty. So I'll step back in just a second just to help him get in here. But that being said, back to what I was saying is I don't like a lot of people that I've met. Not a lot, but there's kind of two groups of people. There's the two people that are just like super easily accept the new paradigm, and then there's others that struggle with it. Now, me personally, I 100% struggled it. The first time that I watched 200 proofs, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, and I was like, no, that's so stupid, and oh, okay, that makes a little sense. No, that's so stupid. Why that doesn't make any sense? Because
It's like,
I had that indoctrination. Go ahead, Anthony.
yeah, it's like you have to make yourself say that it's stupid, though. You have to just like force yourself to believe the lies that you've been told your whole life. You have to force yourself. Whereas when it comes to reality, it's just there. It's wide open. You can't help but see it. Uh, that's what gets me though is so many people can't see it, even when they're shown. Uh, it just blows my mind when you can show somebody, look, what does that horizon look like to you? Does it look flat or is it curved? And some people will still say that it looks curved to them. So what are your eyes curved or something? Do you not trust your senses? Oh,
And that's
and then
literally what they want us to do is not be able to trust our senses. But go on.
yeah, and then we get into the radius value, which is falsified, and kind of what I was mentioning earlier about last week's Globebusters, with a guy had the plane following the curve of the Earth. Said no, they don't tip the nose down. Uh, but at what point does the plane just have to miraculously turn around to keep following the curve, or does it have to tip the nose down? When does it start flying backwards? Uh, later on in his video, he did show that eventually the plane would have to dip its nose down to follow the curve, even though he said it doesn't. So he basically contradicted himself, but he can't see it. He cannot see that the radius value has been falsified. He says, okay, well, if it's not 3959, what is it? It's zero. There is no radius value to something that doesn't have a radius. But that's what he's not getting. That's what he's not grasping, I guess, is he thinks, well, if the radius value is falsified, then it must be either more or less than the radius value that we've been told, which that's not the point anybody's trying to make. He's trying to make it a point, I believe.
Yeah, basically what he's saying is you don't even need to worry about dipping your nose because gravity just magically does it for you. So you're always going to be level with the inch level that you're underneath, and it'll just keep leveling itself off automatically, which is pretty insane because if you think of a mechanical gyroscope, they literally, if you turn them upside down, there's a difference. So, um, but yet apparently when you do that over a long distances, it doesn't even matter. So my wife, her biological father, he is an electrician on airplanes, specifically fighter jets for the military. And I asked him, I was like, so do they like what happens if like all you lose all power? Like how do they keep their instruments working? And he's like, well, no, every single plane has a mechanical gyroscope so that if power fails, they can still have that bearing. They can still have that level. I forget the name of the instrument where they can keep flying. So uh, even to that guy's point, what he's saying is just automatically doing it. Well, that makes no sense because that slowly but surely that mechanical gyroscope would start changing what the level of the plane was, and it makes zero sense.
Right, and also, like when you put a plane on autopilot, it fixes all the flaps and stuff in place. They're fixed there. It's not like they're going to continually adjust themselves. Machines don't have a brain. They don't have a way to constantly follow the curve of the earth, so to speak. That's an impossibility. Even if they're trying to follow the gyroscope's not changing. So why would the mechanical device change? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
we,
Um,
we could get more next week. We're going to have a pilot on, so he can explain this stuff quite a bit better than I know I can. But
Yeah, absolutely. So I did bring up some stuff real quick. I'm just getting ready to show it up. So I got a few. Let me pull these off real quick. Get you here. Give me just a second, guys. I'm kind of get that added. Um, so kind of an interesting thing. So I was talking before about my um, the congregation I go to on Saturdays for Sabbath, and speaking of,
Real quick,
oh
Beta
yeah,
Bear.
absolutely.
Sorry, they're said to turn your mic up just a little bit.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second to do that, guys. But hey, Nick, glad you're able to make it in here. We'll stop the conversation for a second just so you can say your hellos to everyone that's watching live and those that will watch it later. So go ahead when you're ready, Nick.
Yeah, no, shalom. Thank you guys for having me. I hope everyone's having a good Shabbat. And I just want to give thanks real quick just for how sweet Shabbat is, in itself, and just gets better and better the more you get into it more. But yeah, I'm going to sit back and listen for a little bit where you're going.
Well, thanks for being here, man. And I definitely agree that Shabbat is sweet and it's definitely something to be treasured and loved. And the fact that we can come together and just, dote on the Father, Abba, and just talk about his creation and, point it more to his truth as opposed to the world's lies is. It's awesome that we were able to do this over the air. You know what I mean? So, again, welcome. And go ahead, Anthony, from what you were saying before.
I don't know if I was saying anything. I kind of cut you off about your
Oh,
mic. They
oh,
said it's
no
better.
worries. Thanks for that update, guys. So I'm gonna show something real quick. Let's see here. Gotta pull that info up. Alrighty. So right here, I was talking about the our congregation and um, and the fact that um, they're mostly believe in like a globe Earth. And so a kind of cool thing is Sukkot is coming up here quick, the Feast of Tabernacles, and this is my family's second year doing this. And last year we went to another location, but this year we're going to Bear Lake, and so. Um, I brought up to my elder Matt that I would love to do um, a mirror test or a curvature test since we're going to be here at Bear Lake, and and he actually told me today that he was going to bring a laser, and hopefully everything works out, and I'll get to also use Anthony's P900 infrared camera. If not, we could still do it with mirror tests and laser tests. But the reason why I wanted to show this is because um, things like this, being able to get with family, like this, just like I literally know that this is Abba doing this because um, this is literally a place where we can do a curvature test, and I can show the people that I go that I'm in congregation with that we don't live in the place that they tell us. And kind of going back to what I was saying before is is like to be able to show someone that they are seeing something that they weren't able to see is a really good proof because when it comes to at least scripture, right? Like you can have two lines of thinking. You can have one line of thinking where it says, you know, the Earth hangs on nothing, and you can say, see, that's a globe. It's hanging on nothing. Um, Forget about gravity, but or you can have the other line of interpretation or thought. See, like, look at that table. Look at the table. It's hanging on nothing. And so, and even the Bible it describes at a certain point that the earth is like Abba's footstool. And so Yeah, I think it's really cool that I'm going to have an opportunity to show them this, and pray for me and the congregation that, one, we're able to do it correctly, and two, we're able to show some of Abba's truths, as opposed to the lies. That being said, we were talking earlier. I'll switch these up. So here's the radius, 33,958.8 miles. Now, every single flat earther knows that if this thing is off, then everything is off. The sun, the distance to the moon, the distance to the sun, literally everything in their model depends on this radius. And what's so interesting to me about that is, in a lot of the debates and conversations that I've heard, they don't want to mess with this radius, because if they do, it's the fulcrum of their argument. And so they'll try to push it away and talk about other stuff. And that's so interesting to me because it's kind of like Christians believing in a certain thing, and then let's go back to Genesis and talk about it, and they're like, well, let's not talk about Genesis. That's not to my point, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and also, like you were saying, if they do in fact have to change the radius value, everything changes, including the calendar, including the distance to the sun and the moon, the ISS. Every single thing in their arsenal of lies has to change. Every single thing about it.
Just like the moon, right? Like, for them to have the telemetry data in order to do what they said, then it would have to be that exact radius, which makes no sense anyways, right? Because like that dude literally says that we're in a pear shaped, and so it's like, well, then the radius would be dependent on where you were doing the radius, right? Because if you do a radius from the bottom of the pear shape, it's going to be different from the top of the pear shape. Um, but that doesn't but that doesn't make sense when you go into all the other previous things we explained about the distance to the moon and the sun and the stars, the ISS, and all that.
Hey, they're saying the stream ended.
What?
Uh, they say, "Oh, what happened?" Wendy just sent me a message, said the stream ended.
What? Okay, well, let's see.
I still have it on my computer.
I
It's
still
coming
have it
through live
too.
on my end.
Yeah, I have it still live too, so I'm not exactly sure. It still shows that I'm streaming. Sorry, on. I shouldn't have brought that up there. Let me stop doing that. Let's go like
It
this.
totally cut off, guys.
Oh, it cut off, but it's still fine now? Or is it still going?
It wasn't going. It just totally shut down. I thought YouTube just shut you down.
It still shows that I'm streaming from my side.
It shows it, but okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Is it
I
back
didn't miss
up?
anything on the stream. It's going strong.
Yeah, they're saying it's
Okay, you're back.
defeat or something.
Looks like Grabbler tube
Just,
at it again.
just
Rabblers. It's
Oh, so it looks like, just for everyone in chat, it looks like I have no idea why, but my connection right now, it's good, babe? Okay. So my wife just came in there. She's saying it's good. It looks like I'm having maybe some grabbler happening from my ISP, but I'm not exactly sure. If anything else like that comes up, please, guys, let us know in the chat. Thank you for letting us know this time. Hopefully we're back on track and everyone can see us live. So I don't know necessarily where the stream cut off, but at least for here right now, we'll go back to the radius. Just the pear-shaped. How can the pear shape have an exact radius? Only a sphere could have an exact radius, and it just makes no sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like any other Jesuit priest. You know, you have to believe what they say, just like what you were saying earlier about If somebody hits you in the face, are you going to believe that you was hit in the face? Or are you going to listen to an expert that says, no, you weren't hit in the face? And that's what a lot of people do when it comes to Neil deGrasse Tyson saying it's a pear shape. Well, they just believe in the Jesuit order. They believe everything he says. He could say the sky is black or brown or something, and people are believing.
Right. No, and I think it has to be said because I feel like we're all kind of led to witness the flat earth and the firmament to other people in the body of Christ and just, everyone out there. But it has to be said that when I first came across this truth, I found it to be like crazy terrifying at first. And it really took a while, like a year or two, to realize it's actually a mighty witness of how awesome the Father is and his creation is so sovereign and undeniable. And now I know dozens of people who, from the truth of the flat earth, have been led to Yeshua and are saved and had their lives dramatically changed. So I don't know. I feel like if you're going to witness this truth to others, I would keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. The only to just kind of play the devil's advocate for a second, I'll see people say something along those lines of like, well, that's what the universe and the planets and all that stuff is. Like, look how crazy it is and chaotic it is, but he still makes it work. And it's so big and vast. Like, of course Abba could do that. He could create this huge, vast space and distance. And then I kind of combat that with like, so where is he? He's obviously not inside of his creation, right? Like he's not in space or the galaxies or the universe. He has to be outside of that. And then you have mainline science telling us that it's either infinite or it's ever expanding or it's undeterminable. So that literally means that that Abba is infinitely far away from us. He's infinitely, or ever going further away from us. And to me, that's just that's just insane.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and
obviously, oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, well, and the flat Earth just smashes any possibility of evolution in such like an awesome way. And so it's like, yeah, of course, Abba could have created this supposedly as a solar system with planets and orbits and all this stuff, but no, this is what he actually created to be, and he wants us to know this because it's all disclosed to us in his word in Genesis chapter 5, the firmament, etc. So it's like, does he want us to know about this or not, and does it matter or not? And I would argue yes and yes.
Well, me too, definitely. I mean, why would it even be in the scriptures if he didn't want us to know about it? I keep telling people that claim, well, the Bible doesn't say the earth is flat. I don't feel like Yah had to, I felt the need to express the obvious. Uh, there's several things that we know of today that are not in the Bible, per se, but it's blatantly obvious. It's physical stuff, Oh, it doesn't explain gravity in the Bible, where in order for this heliocentric model of everything to even work, you have to have gravity. It's impossible without it. But nowhere in the scriptures does it even mention gravity or anything like it. As far as I know now.
No, yeah, absolutely. There is like two places that the word gravity is used, but it's not used in the same context of the word, the magic deity of gravity that we know nowadays. So yeah, it's kind of insane the amount of mental gymnastics people are willing to do just to have to hold to a certain thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said it is mentioned in the Bible. Whereabouts? I'd like to look that up.
I can't think off the top of my head, but it uses that word gravity is literally like meaning like if I was to say you don't understand the gravity of the situation. Like,
Oh,
Like Titus 2:7,
yeah.
I believe. It's like the gravity, the weight of, yeah, like you're saying, Vader, the meaning of something and the heaviness that it's not what the ball Earth gravity is, what they're taking from it at all. So y'all are right. It's like 2 or 3 times in the Bible. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's not used in the same way, and I'm pretty sure they obviously transliterated those words into English and then used gravity, because it was similar to like the weightiness of a subject. Like you don't get the gravity of the situation. It's talking about like the full scope of it, not necessarily in the
Honesty.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
not in the scope of something keeping us attached to a ball.
It could derive from the word grave as it breathes.
Yeah, like coming from the grave, gravity of the situation. I understand. Get you.
Yeah, totally. So here's just a funny little picture, real quick, showing what I was talking about earlier, um, where if you look at a globe, and then this is kind of a rough idea or show of that, what it would look like, for the New Jerusalem to be on top of a ball. And then if you can kind of look at the top right corner of where it's touching, like literally just kind of do that in your mind. Like think about putting a cube on a ball. The four corners aren't even going to be touching. So if you, like the Bible describes, have these four gates, right, and the most important being the east gate, then you're not even going to be able to, like, when you come out of it, you'd have to like fall down thousands of feet to the ground. So I think that's really interesting. And who does this make everybody as sick as I do seeing this? Like, look at how much stuff that they could hide and lie to us with this model. You know what I mean? It's like, do anyone actually think that all this texture and stuff is even there? And the biggest joke of all, this right here is just literally. What are we looking at here? This is apparently Antarctica. This is the pictures that the satellites are taking out in space. They just, for some reason, they can't take full pictures of stuff. I just think that's so funny.
well, I can't see what you're sharing, but I can. I can.
I'm showing Globe Earth right now. Google Earth, and just like zooming into Antarctica, and there's like all these like random spots that are just like copy pasted. Like, does anyone actually believe that this is the snowfall? Like, I'm not saying that there's not snow in Antarctica, but it's like the texture, the mountains they have here. Like, we have zero way of verifying any of this information. But people look at this Google Earth and they're like, yeah,
But
this is where we
but but
live.
but Vader, why would they lie? So many people would have to
Did
be
y'all
in
just
on it.
see that happen?
Well, here's one thing. We do have the technology to actually verify this stuff, but we're not allowed. It's illegal. We will be shot down or blown up or put in prison for the rest of our life without any uh, representation. I mean, they can just do whatever they want. Uh, Me personally, what I would like to do, since we can't go south of the 60th south parallel, I'd like to charter a ship or something and just circumnavigate the 60th south parallel, like inside of it or whatever.
Like be right
And
on the line and see, like, I'm not going past it. I'm just right on the line.
exactly, and if it's anywhere close to what Captain Cook did back in the 1890s or whatever it was, or 1876 or night, whatever. Well, I can't remember the date, but whatever Captain Cook did, he logged over 65,000 miles around Antarctica. If it was a globe, shouldn't it be less than 24,901 miles? Not 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
that leads me to the question: is Captain Caveman a licensed ship pilot?
What's up, Captain? That's funny. But yeah,
No, but
so
can I break in right there? Because
yeah.
I just don't like how you see all these young people wearing NASA gear like out and about. I feel like it's more than ever. I feel like maybe for us, we're not aware of the impact that SpaceX and all of the space flight hype has on the general public, and I think they really are more plugged into it and believe in it than we would think about in our day to day. But it's just like it just seems like such a curse because I feel like children are into the space and everything, and when the real blessing for them would be the truth and to know that the creator is made this for us, and he's not some distant or non-existent god, but he's so to speak right above us. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
That's what
Well,
that's what I love. I love to know that when I look up, and she may not be here, but when Trixie looks up, she lives in Australia. When we point up, we're looking at the same place. You know what I mean? We're looking at the exact same direction. And to me, knowing that he's right there instead of infinitely far away from me is a lot more endearing than to think he's um, infinitely far away.
well, I'd like to touch on the space flight and all this stuff. Yeah, I know y'all done seen the Bezos rocket, if you could call it that. Uh, if that's not in your face that they are screwing us, I don't know what is. I don't know how you can present something like that to the public and the public still cheer for getting screwed by space travel and all this space race junk. I don't know how else you I don't know how more blatantly they could put it. I know y'all saw the rocket and what it looks like and everything. It,
I saw the one for Virgin, but I didn't see the Amazon one. While y'all are talking, I'll bring it up. But go ahead.
well, to me, it looks like a giant dildo, but I hate to talk vulgar like that. That's basically what they're shoving in our face daily, and people
Yeah,
just
hence blue origin. That's like the tongue in cheek joke because it has a blue origin.
9, 8, 7, 6,
yeah.
5,
And that other
4.
thing that they launched off a plane, the Virgin Galactic, that wasn't nothing but a kite. Uh, I've taken actual photos of passenger planes traveling, flying between 30 and 40,000 feet with a P-1000, and to my knowledge, is the most powerful zoom camera that we can get in the public. And don't get me wrong, it takes pretty good pictures of them, but they're only at 30 to 40,000 feet, and they're talking about this kite that Branson was in at 53 miles. Come on, man. What kind of camera were they using on the ground to get that sort of footage? It's impossible. It's literally impossible. Oh, and
I'm gonna actually bring that up real quick. Um, for everyone in the chat and here in voice, how fast do y'all know? How fast do y'all have to get out of orbit? Supposedly, do y'all remember?
supposedly 17,500 miles an hour, which
Exactly.
is inhumanly impossible.
No, but I always thought they said it was the speed of a bullet was the. Oh,
It,
you're saying when it actually gets up there that it's speed to escape velocity speed.
Exactly.
well, 1,500 miles an hour is actually 8 times faster than a 223 bullet fired at muzzle.
So
And I feel like we all saw those launches as like children, and they didn't make sense how those rockets would start to go off to the side, then curve away. Like they never ever went straight up.
hmm
Right.
yeah.
That always blew my mind.
Yeah, so right now I'm sharing that flight. We're gonna watch it real quick. If it's a little, I'm gonna turn it down just so it's not killing people's ears. But this is absolutely like, who believes? Like, okay, maybe this is a real rocket. Maybe they're actually sending a rocket up into the sky. But just look at this. He's as he's going up. And yes, it looks exactly like a male anatomy. Isn't that weird? Like, they can't come up with any other ideas but then a long shaft. It's like, come on. I guess the Virgin one was different, but that was literally just a rocket glider that did some zero G. But so he's up there pretty high already, and he's only going 500 miles an hour as of right now. So 55 seconds and a minute up into the air. He's only going 600 miles an hour, and he's already 30,000 feet. He's gonna have to literally go, another another 17,000 miles an hour more to escape to reach that escape velocity of it. And then, has anyone ever shown proof that a human can survive even inside of something going 17,000 miles an hour?
Well, let's compare it to the SR-71. Supposedly, what it travels like Mach 3.5 or Mach 4.5 or something like that. And the spatial, and they now we've seen the SR-71. It looks like a flying razor blade
Mm-hmm.
for aerodynamics purposes, right? And now let's take a look at that Bezos rocket or the space shuttle, the Challenger, for example. Is that anywhere close to aerodynamic enough to even remotely get as fast as the SR-71?
No, and even kind of interesting, obviously not. Did y'all know with the SR-71, when it's on the ground, that it's leaking fluids? Because they have to give such tolerances, because if they made it flush and then they went up that high, stuff would start breaking because of the pressure. So when it's on the ground, it's literally leaking oil and various other stuff. So they have to get it up in the air before it stops leaking. So
Yeah.
they're saying
Oh,
right here on the video that he's at 270,000 feet. He's in 0 G, and they're going less. The number is starting to drop. They're at 1,300 miles an hour right now. So they're only like 16,000, away from actually leaving Earth. But I guarantee you this was a successful flight into space. It even says Blue Origin, first human flight.
yeah, I can't wait to rub this in Deadmau5's face, bro.
Woohoo, we went up really high.
Yeah, and they free fell for a short time. I mean, my gosh, I can jump out of a plane and free fall and experience what is like 0 G. But, eventually I'm going to have to open my parachute or I'm going to die.
So right now they're down to less than 300 miles an hour, and they're still going up like exponentially. Look at the New Shepard altitude and then the miles per hour. The miles per hour is plummeting, and their feet going up is still there. It's zero. Their speed zeroed out, and now it's back at 150. But They're at the exact same altitude. Oh, now they're falling. It's like how people watch these things and soak it in like this is truth is literally mind blowing. All that he just happened, all he just did is went up really high and then came back down.
That's
That's
it.
that's what every single rocket does. It goes up real high and then it comes back down.
I guess if I had billions of dollars to spend, I could probably get on a rocket and go up and down too.
1 minute warning. 1 minute warning.
This is so preposterous.
I haven't actually watched the video of it. I just saw the thing. I said,
Yeah,
nope.
it's literally ridiculous.
Yeah, what about space travel ain't ridiculous these days? You know, it was kind of halfway believable back in the 60s and 70s whenever they was doing it. It was halfway believable. Nowadays, oh, it's just a joke, man. It's like a slap in the face, man. It honestly offends me that they still do stuff like this.
I
But
think it's
it's
kind of.
also,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's also laughable once you know about the flat Earth and the firmament, because it just seems like the evil one's so fallen and he knows he's not in control, but yet he wants to influence other fallen men to basically say, we are the gods. We're the gods of science, and we're going to explore the galaxy and all this stuff. But I feel like, again, once you see that it's a flat enclosed system, you kind of witness the proper sovereignty of Yod Hey Vahe, and you can kind of laugh at the evil one in a sense, because it's like, yeah, you're not going anywhere. Like, you're not going to explore the galaxy or do any of this stuff. Like, we all know that the only way out of this world is through Yeshua. I think that's why he said it. Like, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father, the only way to the heavens is through me. So I feel like it's like very high value, important to witness this to other disciples, because they seem to be the most open to it.
Yeah,
Sorry guys, I'm getting
absolutely.
over a cold over here, so my voice is a little bit raspy tonight.
Oh, you're good. So right now on screen, I'm 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 50 seconds into it, and I don't know if y'all can see this, but I have it on super slow speed, and there's something that like pops off and then like floats by. So it'll have see. Do y'all see that? It's whatever that is. So what? First of all, what the heck just came off of it? And second of all, if you're going 2,112 miles an hour and something was made to be aerodynamic and then something rips off of it, like what would happen to that object? I I don't know. I guess someone's gonna say it's ice buildup or something silly like that. Another thing that I wanted to point out is look at this camera. Why is it blocked like this? Why does it have this shade? Like I don't know. It kind of looks weird how they have the camera. But anyways,
Well, I'm gonna have to watch the actual video, but I can't really see what you're talking about. But I've seen airplanes that have hit birds and it just demolishes the plane. You know, and if
hmm
something falls off of that thing, traveling those speeds, my gosh, it should have disintegrated, shouldn't it? It should have just tore the whole thing apart.
hopefully that's not too loud for y'all on the stream. For those that aren't watching, it's the Blue Origin or whatever it's called, falling back straight down. Which this is like I think the only flight I've ever seen that went straight up and straight back down. It didn't do that whole curve thing, which is kind of interesting. Now the picture on the right keeps cutting out for whatever reason. Probably those frames didn't render when they were making this 3D animation. But then again, like it wouldn't really surprise me if they sent up a rocket and you just went straight up and then came back down.
Right. Now, I do believe that is a possibility there. But I mean, we do see what happened to I forget his name now, but the guy that built that hydro rocket.
Sorry, dude. That I was just watching the animation and these little these little hands came out, and it literally looked so fake to me. Of course, it could still be real, but that looks so dumb. Go on.
Oh, I was just saying that one guy that I know of that actually did get on one of those rockets and go into the air ended up dying from the whatever caused. I think it was the sheer velocity itself. I can't remember his name though.
I don't get why they can like look at this, like those that can see, look at this angle and then boom, cut. Why do they need a cut right there? Why do they need to cut it when it's coming right down? Oh, because they want to give us a picture where there's all this stuff on the screen so it's harder to see? Like, that makes no sense. This is a way better angle to see what's happening than this close up angle. It just, I don't know.
You know,
I don't get why people do all these mental gymnastics just to believe that they're an insignificant, you know, sack of flesh on a speck of dust in an endless void.
well, even the Globelings were asking that same question back at the Virgin Galactic thing. They said, "Why do they keep cutting the stream off of the stuff that we want to see?" And my reply was, "It's because they don't want you to see what's really going on." And then I get cussed out. So they ask a question, I tried to answer to the best of my ability, but that's basically what the Globelings are asking as well. You know, why do they keep cutting the stream off of the important stuff? And also about the Virgin Galactic, they talk like that's a first of its kind of thing. Well, they did that back in the 50s with the X-15. They
Mm-hmm.
launched it off of a B-52 at maximum altitude and went up like a, I don't know, like 7 miles or something like that, or 9 miles. And even in the footage of that, it never showed any curvature to Earth.
Yeah, well,
I
they'll
told
tell you that at 120,000 feet or whatever, you still wouldn't be able to see the curve. So it's like, oh, so what about those pictures of the ISS? Like where they show them floating over the curve and you can just see the horizon, keep coming, keep changing. How are they able to take that picture if they're just a couple centimeters off the basketball, if you will?
right. Yeah, I like the one where the uh, students sent up a balloon, said that they proved the curvature of the Earth when you can see the curvature of the Earth at 10 feet off the ground. And also the rope that's holding the camera onto the balloon is curved as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know about their photography mishaps with the GoPros and the fisheye lens and all that junk. But what I don't get is how are people not understanding that? How how do people not see through that junk?
Because Neil deGrasse Tyson says, "Oh yeah, the Red Bull guy, like with his GoPro, his
Felix.
fisheye
Mm-hmm.
lens GoPro, and all this. Like he'll say that the Earth looks flat and appears flat, and all the tricks, but yeah, that's not proof that it's actually flat. So I feel like that's how they kind of continue the deception. Is that these really like slick people out in the public, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, kind of covering for them.
Does Neil deGrasse Tyson even have a college degree?
I'm
That's
pretty
so.
sure he has multiple. I think he's like an astrophysicist and has like held some pretty estimable positions.
Kind of come back to the video. So on the rocket and on the capsule, they have all these graphics, like these vinyl designs, um, which is really interesting. Why would they need to name a rocket or put stickers on it or paint it? Like, isn't that just extra weight that would not be necessary? Another thing about this video before I switch it off of it is Jeff Bezos is in here, right? Right? We all know that Jeff Bezos is in here because they told us it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how do we even know that it's not like we see him coming out and waving. And even if we did see him come out and waving, like, could they just not have, you know, cut the scene and then came back and him go inside and then come out? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's just, it's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's real crazy. I used to watch NASCAR pretty religiously. And I know when they went to these super speedways like Daytona and Talladega, um, to cut down on drag on these cars that are only running close to 200 miles an hour, they would actually paint the decals on the cars, because if they stuck them on there, just that little uh, millimeter
Yeah, the
of
paper thin sticker.
yeah, that would create too much drag and it would slow the car down. So they would literally paint the decals on the cars.
Yeah, but then if you're talking about sending up something in space, right? So we know how we know how paint interacts here on Earth, but does anyone know how paint reacts in the zero gravity of space and the heat or freezing cold of space?
Well, yeah, I mean, but the hood of my truck, the paint's chipping off it because it stays out in the sun too long, and that's on ground level.
Yeah, and you have all the atmosphere and the Van Allen belts to protect you from that harmful radiation.
Yeah, with lead and water suits.
Yeah,
That's their story.
it's
They try to come up with lead and water suits to protect them from the Van Allen belts. Yet they went to the moon in '69, and yet we can't do it again. So funny.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And you were talking about earlier about, like you going out to the ocean and saying, "Dad, why can't I see it curve from left to right?" Um, and obviously we're gonna bring up the boat, right? The boat going over the horizon. Now, probably everyone on this channel, at least right now, knows that um, that it's nonsense. But yet people still hold to that. People still hold to the fact that you can see a boat go over the horizon. And that's just another lie. It's just another lie that people literally have to just believe it in order to continue believing it. It's like what and I say this to lots of people, but like, at what point, like, what piece of evidence would change your mind? And Nick, you were talking about uh, people who love the Father, and that they're the people who are open to this information. But for me, like, my sister, I try to use scientifical reasoning with her about why we can't live on a globe, all the different aspects and ideas and thoughts, like, okay, is the atmosphere attached to the ground or is it free floating? Because if it's attached to the ground, then any plane going the opposite speed of the rotation, or going the opposite direction of the rotation, would literally be going negative 500 miles an hour in relation to their ground speed, basically. So obviously that's not how it works. A plane going east or west, its its speed isn't changed because of the rotation. If like they say, it's gravity that's holding the atmosphere here. But then, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let's say it's free floating. Then why don't we just get in a helicopter, fly up 100 or 1,000 feet, whatever, and wait an hour, and then just come back down, and now you're 1,000 miles away?
Quick question: when someone if someone asks you, well, okay, if it's not gravity, what's the force? Do you say it's an incoherent electrostatic down, or just an inexplicable downward force that keeps
So
things attracted to the ground, then with density and buoyancy working out the rest?
So with the work that Zach did over on Globebusters, he was showing the incoherent magnetism. Now that makes a lot of sense to me, but I think that for a lot of people that's too much information. So breaking it down just to density and buoyancy makes 100% sense. The only issue that I've ran into with that explanation is people say that that weight is based upon gravity. So if you say, oh, well, it weighs something so it goes down, or it weighs less so it goes up, well, then you're using gravity. And the other day on Sean or Wes Blaze and Sean's Uncommon Ground, they were talking about that exact same thing. And obviously, Austin said it a billion times. Like I don't use the beach ball example, but I say, what happens if you take, a 1 metric ton of steel in a cube and you throw it into the ocean? Well, it's going to keep going down until it meets a place where it gains its equilibrium and it can't go down anymore. But if you take that same metric ton of steel and you craft it in such a way, well, then now all of a sudden that same exact weight is floating on the surface. So why is it just the shape? So like then you get into like, oh, so gravity affects different shapes differently. And it's complete nonsense. But back to your kind of question is I use density and buoyancy because even though there is a measurable downward acceleration, I think for most people, I don't know if y'all run into, they have no idea about science or about any of the numbers. And that's exactly why they believe in the globe model, because they haven't done any research. They just believed what they were told in first grade.
But that doesn't explain how when you show them literal evidence or literal facts that they still believe in the globe. And I can understand how it's kind of tough to unwrap your mind around all the lies we've been told and kind of start to think for yourself. But if you can show somebody literal proof and they just deny it, how can somebody do that? At least if they're thinking logically, if they really care to know.
Well,
Most people don't.
well,
But
most people aren't even scientific minded. So kind of back to the story about my sister, is I showed her all these scientifical reasonings why we can't live on a globe, and she goes, well, I don't know enough about that either way to debate that, so I have no idea. And so then I'd go into scripture. I'd say, look at here's scriptural evidence on why we don't live on a globe. Joshua asking the moon and the sun to stop. King Hezekiah asking the sun to go backward. Um, the we live on a circle, which is different, is chug to dur, which is a different word than when it uses in Isaiah. It says, I will crumple you up in a ball and toss you into the nations. Um, and so I'll give all these examples. It sits on pillars and foundations. It cannot be removed from its place. And all I get from my sister is I interpret that different. When he says it won't be removed from its place, he's saying in its relation to its position within the cosmos, it's going to keep orbiting around. And I'm like, well, it says that it won't move. And it's just he's saying, yeah, it won't move from its place in the solar system. And
right,
so
yeah,
and so
mental gymnastics in order
ex-
to.
exactly, and I forget the term, but it's basically people like, oh, all those sheep herders, all those people back in the day, they were dumb. They didn't know when Joshua prayed for the moon and the sun to stop. Actually, he just didn't understand that he was praying for the earth to stop rotating. And we don't even need to get into the physics of what would happen if something spinning 1,000 miles an hour all of a sudden stops spinning, or the
Yeah, Vader,
physical. I was just going to say,
I
or
just
the
want
physical reaction of something stopping and then spinning up to 1,000 miles an hour. Go ahead.
see with that, like talking to someone like your sister, I would ask them, I would somehow get into the subject is like, okay, do you think this is a fallen world we're in? Excuse me, like from a biblical standpoint, do you think this is a fallen world, and like how bad do you think it is? Because I feel like sometimes people will be even like Christians, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like we're in a fallen world, but it's not that bad. There can't be like a vast conspiracy on the level of the flat Earth, or like the medical industry's messed up. I mean, like, do you think she biblically thinks that we're in a fallen world where Satan's let loose? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And I brought up the fact that he is the father of all lies. I brought up, all those different points and things that point to biblical cosmology as it describes in Genesis 1, pointing out, well, what happened when let's talk about about our existence when the Father said, "Let there be light." What was that? And most Christians I talk to say that's the sun being created. But I'd be like, wait, the sun's not created till the fourth day. So per the world view, the sun had to exist before the planet or the moon existed, because that's how they would have been created. It had been the gravitational pull of the sun keeping that ball of dust in a certain area, and then the compression of the material to then create the spherical or pear-shaped um, planet that we supposedly live on. And it's literally asinine. It's so backward. But yeah, it's definitely hard. As I was talking about with the congregation I'm in, they work for a company that has a lot to do with the aerospace um, industries. And I think it's a lot to do with pride, because if someone like Matt, for example, and I'm not talking down to him, he's been in that company for so long. He's been told and shown that he was sending up satellites um, into space, and all the engineering and all those different parts of it going into doing what they claim they do. It would kind of suck if you then realize that your whole professional career, you were basically being used and lied to at the exact same time. So I kind of feel that for them. But for the people who aren't in that kind of position, where their livelihood or professional life isn't directly tied to, um, isn't directly tied to, space, most of the people, they just don't care. And I think that's why that question of why would they lie comes up, because to them it's like, how is it going to affect me? I still got to go to work tomorrow. So what does that really change? And I think that's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because you're saying um, where you live doesn't matter. You still got to live, and it's just kind of backwards to me.
right, and I see what you're saying with how their jobs are tied to their worldview, and information about like the true cosmology conflicts with that. I feel like I'm dealing with that, but to a greater extent with how I feel like myself and everyone, we all know so many doctors and nurses, people in the pharmaceutical industry, and so it's like you can't even have a discussion about vaccines and vaccine safety at this point, because everyone's so like tied into trusting, being very high trust with the medical industry,
Yeah,
that
we
it's
got
like,
there. it, it,
Yeah,
not
not to
medical
get yeah,
by no
not
means.
medical advice. Ask your physician. But like, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. And I have even some interesting points about that I could show up. I don't know if many people have seen it, but the and I won't get too much into it. Um, just kind of just the tip of it, just to show you. Um, but I'll bring that up. But go ahead and talk while I do that.
Well, real quick, about the folks you go to Shabbat services with that are, like into that stuff. I can kind of use an example there. Okay, I have a boss. I work for somebody. Do I know his ins and outs of the business? Like, do I know what he gets paid for each job, and how he charges people? I don't. I'm compartmentalized. I'm on a need to know basis. I need to know how to do this or how to do that, and that's all I need to know. He writes me a paycheck. I go home. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. Now, as far as him running the ins and out of his business, that's none of my business. Same with everybody at NASA. They have one particular job to do, and they get paid pretty well, in my opinion, to actually do that job. And they don't have any reason to question their authority. They write them a paycheck, they go home, everybody's happy. Um, just like the astronauts that supposedly went to the moon back in '69, when asked the question about the Van Allen belts, they said, "Well, how did you get through them or whatever?" Well, we just went through them. We didn't even know it. We didn't know they existed, or however they put it. Well, and I've got a encyclopedia, a 1968 edition encyclopedia that tells you all about the Van Allen belts, everything we supposedly know about them, even to this day. There's no new information that we know of today that wasn't in this 1968 encyclopedia. So how did they not know about it?
Because they couldn't have gone if they knew about it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to show you real quick back to what we were just talking about with the medical industry just as a whole. This is pretty general, but everyone's seen this symbol. This is the medical symbol. They say it's the wing of the rod of Hermes or the wings of Hermes, etc. There's lots of different names for it. And this is probably going to make everyone who loves the Father throw up, but just to show you. So this is a statue of Baphomet with sickening two little kids looking up to him like he's something. But if you look at the waist, the band, you see that same two serpents going up the rod, and then you have the wings of the Baphomet in the background. It's literally the exact same symbol. So, and I talked to a lot of my family about about the fact that this in the medical industry, and I got a lot of families that are a lot of family members that are totally on board with the beer bug um, and the jab and all that jazz. So it's kind of sad that they don't even know. They're basically worshiping. They're putting their hope and prayer on this symbol of this medical and not even knowing where it comes from.
Not to go on a little bit of a tangent, but since you guys are here, I got to ask, like, how do we deal with statues of Baphomet like this one being erected in the public? Like, what's our remedy? Like, do we just like speak out against it? I mean, what do you guys think?
To be honest, it's kind of hard, right? Because it's like, do I want to go like burn it to the ground like my local Masonic lodge? Would I love to see it go up in flames? Absolutely. But it's like I think of, let the wheat and the tare grow together. You know what I mean? It's like you can't legislate morality, right? Regardless of whether it's illegal or not, people are going to murder, people are going to steal, and all that stuff. And I would definitely love to tear those down. But in our society, like what would that mean? Like just kind of putting it out there. Okay, we go and we rip it down and we destroy it. Well, then we go to jail and they put up another one anyways.
How
So
about this?
I don't know,
Let's
Nick.
How about this? Let's all get a shofar and let's go pray about it and march around it for 7 days, blowing the shofar and watch it crumble.
Yeah, that would be
Just
super
all,
dope. Like I've actually thought about
Great
that
idea.
before. Like, could we really reenact Jericho and make that thing happen? Like, how amazing would that be if we could reenact that and literally do it and then be like they would literally be stuck in a place where they're like, they walked around this place for 7 days and didn't say a single thing, and then our statue was destroyed. Put them in jail. And they're like, wait, you're saying that they didn't touch it or do anything to it, and they destroyed it? That would be super super awesome if like maybe we totally can.
We literally can. I mean, it says it all throughout Scripture about having faith. That's all we have to do is have faith. And I just kind of like the idea of blowing the shofar.
Yeah, we have a shofar that we blow on all the feasts now. I don't know how grabbled, like how you're supposed to sound it for each event and the timing and all that. Like I'm not exactly sure of that. I do blow it regardless. But yeah, it I don't know, man. Like maybe we should do that. Like maybe we can. Like let's go. Like heck, who cares about the Baphomet? Grabbler um, statue. Of course I do. But let's go do that at the Washington Monument. Let's bring that thing down, dude. Like that would make some headlines.
Why stop at the Washington Monument? Let's go to the White House too, the womb of ISIS. Let's do it all, man. Let's walk over Washington D.C. blowing a shofar. Sounds good to
Yeah,
me.
no, yeah. It's just like it enters my mind so much when I see these being erected, and like it seems like the Church of Satan are just coming more and more out into the public, and it's just like, okay, how do we really handle this but stay, I mean, do we stay true to the tenets of being a free society and allowing free speech? I mean, I guess like we just have to speak out against it. But I don't know, I like your guys' ideas of like sounding the shofar, praying against it. I mean, I don't know, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool. Like maybe instead of like not just not instead of, but maybe including like instead of not instead, but like a Oktoberfest, we do like a shofar fest where like all of us get together and just go around to these places and just blow them and be in prayer and the will of the Father. Like how many awesome things could happen. That's a really cool thought. Another lie that I kind of wanted to bring up um, with this is the whole the moon landing. Obviously, now a lot of us and most of us here know that that's all hogwash. But how many of y'all, at least here in the chat, since you've come to the biblical cosmology, enclosed cosmology, have gone back and watched the moon landing?
I know I have. I've looked at it from every aspect I can possibly look at it in. Because when I was a kid, I loved the moon landing and space travel. I would get out of school. I would go to my grandpa's. They watched me after school, and I would go straight to the encyclopedia shelf and get the S, and I would start looking up space stuff. Read about it, looked at it. It was my entire life. And when I found out it was faked, the first thing I did said, "Oh no, you're lying. You don't know what you're talking about. How can it be faked?" And boy, was I wrong. Golly, I feel bad for even you know when somebody said was the moon landing fake for me accusing them of lying. I feel bad about that. I wish I could have apologized to everybody that told me that, which wasn't many. But yeah, after looking at it from every direction I possibly could, I'm still trying to figure out who was on the moon to capture the video of the lander landing on the moon.
Yeah, or how much like on that lunar lander, how could they have possibly had so much the battery capacity in order to even send a signal, let alone 237 million miles away, but through the vacuum of space, which is not a medium. Radio signals are waves, which means they require a medium to wave through. But let's skip all that and just to talk about how did they have enough power to send that message with no um, delay from 237 million miles?
They must have
Right.
used radio. Seriously, man. I talked to from Macomb, Mississippi to Hawaii, the Big Island, whatever it's called. No delay whatsoever. That's over 4,000 miles. No delay. It was like we was talking face to face.
Mhm.
But yet they have to have a 10-second delay to talk 250 miles to the ISS. Come on, man. Oh, and another thing about that, they use a 2-meter radio that its maximum wattage, according to the FCC, you can only put 500 watts onto a 2-meter radio. That's a big box. That's a big amplifier, okay? But yet they're using handheld radios on the ISS talking to Earth 250 miles away. I don't think so. A 2-meter radio is only good for about 2 city blocks with no amplification. With 500 watts of amplification, you can barely make 100 miles. So
Mhm.
where are all the repeater towers between Earth and the ISS? It should be at least 2.
Bingo.
And my second thought is, why didn't they just like attach the lunar lander to a really long piece of string, so all they had to do is just pull it back?
Yeah, no doubt.
But right now on stream, I'm showing, the graphics that they used back in the day, of the moon landing, and you see it says 4:05, Armstrong throttles up the engine before dropping down on the lunar surface. While Armstrong flies the lunar module, Aldrin gives him altitude readings. So right now on screen you see the lunar lander, and it's throttling up that engine, that big jet blast. What is he pushing up against right now to slow his descent down to the moon? Because like
I never thought about that. Wow.
if I was thinking about it, in order for a car to drive on the ground, its tires need to be touching the ground, and then the tires need to move, so it has to have something to push off of. And then let's talk about boats. So boats, they have to spin the propeller in order to push the water and in order to move on the water. And even planes in the sky, right? They had to have air to push off of in order to keep going. So what exactly is this engine in the void of space pushing off of in order to slow them down?
Yeah, that never entered my mind once. That's just another. But doesn't it seem kind of like diet woke looking back at the moon landing being fake? I feel like there's a ton of like truthers who are aware of that, but like flat Earth is off the table for them at the same time. Do you guys find that at all?
I
Yeah,
found that.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go
Oh, I
ahead,
was
Pete.
just saying real quick. Yeah, that's something that I found a lot lately, especially. They're awake to the moon landing and everything else, but when you bring on flat Earth, they shut their mind down just like that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I totally agree with you. My thing though is I feel like the starting point is the moon landing, because if you see the moon landing and you think all of this is real, or at least represents something that really happened, then there's no way of getting through to you, because to the people who believe that the moon landing was fake, they believe it's fake for a different reason. They believe it's all propaganda. America wanted to beat Russia. They don't actually critically look at this and say things like, what is that jet pushing off against? Because we've all seen them put a fan inside of a vacuum. The fan starts spinning, and the feather in front of the fan doesn't move it doesn't even nudge. So
Right.
so what are they pushing off of? Like even in the fan, even in the example of them putting it inside of a vacuum, at least the whatever's in there could push off against the sides of the containers, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
So to your comment about it being baby woke, or uh, you know
A diet woke.
diet woke, um, then all that means is they haven't really critically thought about what's actually happening.
Now, have you seen? I think it was Buzz Aldrin's appearance on Conan O'Brien, where Cohn was like, "Yeah, I remember watching the moon landing," and Buzz Aldrin's like, "Nope, those were cartoons you watched. You did not see the real thing." Like it's have you? Does that ring any bells?
I saw that
That
one,
sounds
and
familiar. Yep.
spill beans too, because he told that little girl, he says, "We didn't go."
Exactly.
Right, because this looks like cartoons, Vader. What you have up, what you've shown so far of this, all looks
It is
like
all
animations.
cartoons. Yeah, every single part of it. Now this
Like that
right
doesn't even look
here.
like it's shot in a studio. It just looks like
Well,
straight up
I think this
cartoon
one
animation.
was. Oh, it says CBS News simulation. So it's already telling you that it's not real. Like, look at this picture, guys. Like those that can see it, like this literally looks like a sand. Like they like they literally put like a sandbox, and then they put this like super small model on top of the sand, and it's like you can tell that that it's not to scale. Oh my god. Oh, look at that panning. So good. I wonder how they did this simulation. It's almost like it's in a studio.
That's because it is in a studio.
Just kind of skipping through this, and yeah, like you know, it's so insane. Um, you know, all this different stuff. Uh, like who's controlling this camera right now that is looking at the surface of the moon? Like where?
That's what I'm asking. How come the cameraman doesn't get any credit for being the first man on the moon, or woman, whoever it was?
Yeah, it's literally preposterous.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I think
go ahead.
any of the 24 people that's been to the moon or whatever. I think out of every one of them, I think Buzz Aldrin is probably the most uh, logical one of all of them. But he is portrayed as being the craziest of all of them. I mean, I know y'all saw the speech that Donald Trump was giving when Buzz was over there making faces about what Trump was saying.
About the Space Force?
Yeah, about Space Force. He's like, oh, goodness, he needs to shut up, you know, but Buzz couldn't tell him to shut up. He was like, oh, gosh, what am I going to say now? But the more I kind of follow Buzz Aldrin, the more I kind of like him. I think
I disagree. I think he's aging terribly. He seems like an old like troll or something like he's like a decaying Freemason or something. I get a terrible vibe from him.
Well, every single astronaut is a Freemason from my research. At least the Apollo mission ones. I don't know about up to date, but it wouldn't surprise me if they all were.
Yeah, no, he just has that vibe of someone who sold it, like a Freemason who sold his soul and is just committed to the lie and is just locked into it. And
Right.
he's just not aging well at all. Just terrible vibes.
That as well. But I mean, that's the way I feel about every one of them. But I just think Buzz Aldrin is just the most obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that video you were talking about with Trump, I'm gonna pull that up here for us, and then let me unmute it. And this is only 1 minute and 9 seconds, so everyone who cares about Orange Man Bad, let's just watch Buzz Aldrin's face here with the comments that are made.
Security is going to be a very big factor with respect to space and space exploration. At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space? The President will serve as the future of American space leadership. We're going to lead again. It's been a long time. It's over 25 years. Today, we're taking a crucial step to secure America's future in space by reviving the National Space Council after it has been dormant almost 25 years, if you can believe it. Today's announcement sends a clear signal to the world that we are restoring America's proud legacy of leadership in space. We're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space? The Vice President will serve as the council's.
Oh my god, that's so funny, guys.
Looking at
Which
his
one did we
face.
watch? Hear none of it. Which one did we watch?
It's called Buzz Aldrin reacting to Trump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like all the
You,
faces that he makes through the whole thing is just priceless.
It's like he's cringing. He's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, not just say that.
Yeah, it's
See, I'm just reading it that Buzz is playing into, the just like, ooh, I don't like Trump
anti-Trump
thing, which is which is like, oh, I'm so anti-establishment and for the people by seeming to be disgusted with this guy. And, that's really all he's doing.
Yeah, so while y'all continue talking, I'm gonna pull up the Buzz Aldrin where he's telling the little girl. But yeah,
perfect.
y'all go ahead.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. But also, uh, hopefully, you can find the one where he was talking to that late show host, Conan O'Brien, I think, where he basically just outed
So,
NASA altogether.
favorite.
He says, "But you didn't watch that on TV. You watched an animation." I mean, he just flat out said it.
Hence
The thing
MTV.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying hence MTV. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying the thing with this one you're about to play is you could write this off as him saying that's why we didn't go, as him saying that's why we didn't go back. So I think you could take it either way. Not that makes a big difference to us, but I feel like to the unbeliever or I should say the believer in space,
Went down and we watched.
they could read it like, oh no, he's just saying that's why we didn't go back, but he just said it in that way.
And we watched.
That's a possibility. It's just like the fact that NASA says that, oh yeah, all the 60s and 70s moon landings, that was fake, but we actually did go, but we just didn't record it. We didn't let the public know.
What a
Like, yeah, okay.
coincidence! How convenient.
Exactly.
All right, so
I think
go ahead.
But I think it was Don Pettit, but I can't really remember the actual NASA person that said that. It's been so long since I actually saw that clip.
So here's the video of the little girl being told that we didn't go to the moon. Turn it up.
Favorite thing about space?
Going there. Going there. Because not many people have been there. It's nice to do something that other people haven't done.
I'm watching this on delay.
Do dangerous things. You want to do successful things. And if it's new and different, there may be some things. Poor performance. 4 Ps.
All this stupid stuff.
We hadn't really sent people to the moon. So we did send people and they went around the moon. Then we sent people
30 seconds to a minute delay.
To go around the moon.
Sorry about
and
the
then
delay, guys, but it is what it is.
welcome to.
I'm just trying to skip it through
Sometimes
here
it
to
doesn't
find
work.
it. If anyone
And that's a
knows
very
the
dangerous part.
timestamp, I wouldn't mind.
Gravity is making us fall, but we've got motion, so that makes us move this way.
I sure don't know it.
You swing something on the end
It's
of
just saying all this literally preposterous stuff as I skip through this video.
may help train other people. He may go back and do
Well,
the
I'm not gonna sit here and make y'all watch me skip through the video, but if you go
it
watch this
is
Zoe
not
interviews
a good
Buzz
place
Aldrin,
to
and you haven't seen it, I definitely
stay.
suggest saying it. He
There's no
literally
air.
goes to a point where he says, "Oh, let's look at his rings. Are any of them Freemason
It gets
rings?
very hot
That'd be interesting to see." Oh, we can't show
in
his rings, so let's
the
zoom back into his
daytime.
face.
on the moon. 'Cause it's daytime.
Nice.
But
When the
yeah,
sun
so go watch
appears
this video.
to
He'll literally tell the girl we didn't go to the moon. And then here's this one. This is the Conan O'Brien one that Anthony was talking about. Go ahead and play it.
Everybody who was alive at the time does. I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No,
which
you
was
didn't. No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. See, you associated what you saw with.
I have very hazy memories.
Yeah, I know.
Well, no, but what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio
me
and listened.
Talking about, how many feet we were going to the left and right, and then I said, contact light, engine stop.
It's
and a few
exciting.
other things, and then Neil said, Houston, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed.
Look at this. He literally says, you didn't watch us land to the moon.
How many feet we were going to the left
You
and right,
heard us
then
saying
said,
how many feet we were
light,
going to
engine
left,
stop.
right. Then you heard me say contact right,
Things,
engine
and then Neil
start.
said,
And then they said, Houston,
Tranquility
Base, the Eagle has landed.
How about that?
That was
It's
very
like,
exciting.
Not a bad
he
line.
literally is admitting it right there that what he's talking about didn't happen. And they just, I don't know, zombie mode it and just completely ignore that.
Yeah, that's what I like about Buzz, though, man. He literally spills the beans. I mean, just obviously tells the truth, and that's like I said, that's what I like about him is he can't hold his tongue anymore. I think he's starting some sort of like feeling like he better go ahead and say something before he dies, because he's gonna have to answer to the creator. And I think he's sort of in a way repenting from what he's done his whole life, basically.
Or he's slipping. One of the two.
Yeah, maybe so. At old age, you get you, won't it?
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're doing the things that they do.
Yep. Hey, Vader Bear, I was wondering, there's a few people in the YouTube chat that I'd kind of like to throw some wrenches at if you can you could do. A couple people's been here every show, and I kind of know them personally for over the years, but pretty much everybody in chat, I think, deserves a wrench, to be honest.
I know, but you don't want every single person to have a wrench. You know what I mean? Just
and have that.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, I'll throw a couple of
they
wrenches
covered
out there.
a couple with Jeremy Pierce, Rochelle Everson, Wendy Moore, and Chance Niedeker.
So everyone.
Definitely.
I think at least right now we don't really. No offense to anyone. There's no, like, who are we needing to mod right now? We're not at a point where we have trolls in the chat or people saying things. So obviously as that come, the people I see now, y'all are gonna get the wrenches. I
don't want a wrench right now because I don't want the responsibility unless you guys are willing to pay me more.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you a 1 cent raise per year. Does that work?
And a nice letter of recommendation too. Beef up the resume.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, as what other we got about 15 minutes here left. Is there any like things that kind of people like for them were like this lie like helped me, like not helped me in a positive way, but like in a way that you're like, oh man, that lie that I believed into, once it faded away, it was just like another concrete thing for me.
Not for me off the top of my head, but I did want to make a comment while we still have some time, and I just again want to like kind of give thanks that this is the way we kind of like top off our Shabbat and have this round table, iron sharpening iron, and like I just feel like that's such a blessing on all of us that we get together and we just kind of obsess over Yod Vahe and his word and his creation. And like, I feel like we shouldn't let that pass us by, but just take a second to take inventory of that's what our lives have come to. And how awesome that is, you know. So I just want to say to everyone here and everyone in the chat, I'm really blessed by all of you guys. You know, it's just a great place to be, and that's really it for me. Shalom, everybody.
Yeah, and to kind of continue on from that, those that are watching, the stream now, as well as all of those that watch it later on, the Discord link is in the chat. So feel free to come and join us. Not only in chat, we chat throughout the week. We, listen to each other's ups and downs, and all of our own tribulations as we walk through this life. So not only is it a good support place where you can come talk to like-minded individuals, but I'll straight up say most of us don't agree on everything, and that's beautiful. It's beautiful that we can come together and talk about things that we don't necessarily agree on, but we can walk away still looking at each other as brother and sister. So please, if you have any type of inclination to come and join us, come and join us. I want to meet every single one of you. I want to talk to every single one of you. So come join us, join in the conversation. And if you're up for it, come join us on the live stream and kind of bring some of your points, some of your puzzle pieces. And as you see on the kind of the artwork we have for the channel, you see the table, you see the dome, you see the sun and the moon, but on the table is the world. Now, of course, it's a puzzle because none of us knows exactly what it is. It's an incomplete puzzle for a reason. And kind of funny, when I was making this, I showed it to Anthony, and he was like, "What do you mean the missing puzzle pieces?" And he didn't realize that the white spaces weren't missing puzzle pieces. He thought they were clouds. And it was kind of funny how that worked out. Like, they kind of totally look like clouds, but they're actually missing puzzle pieces. And I don't have it in the graphic right now. I'm working on getting that that main puzzle piece spinning as well. But just to say that, like, none of us have the answers. None of us have the complete puzzle. So come share your pieces of the puzzle, so that we can all be sharpened. And I said it before. I'll say it again. Iron sharpens iron. That requires heat, friction, and the removal of material. So if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to step out of the comfort zone and get to a place where you can start getting your beliefs challenged, then this is the place for you, because we want to grow. We want to sharpen the iron of each other and keep growing and keep moving forward and getting the bearing on the path that Yah has laid before us in His will, just honing in that path more and more.
Well said. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
I tell you what, man, I could not ask for better people to hang out with. Y'all have been a dear blessing to me and as well as others, and I just couldn't ask for better. I couldn't ask for better people to visit with and talk with, especially in situations like that when we do disagree, because we may disagree, but we talk it over in such a loving manner that we see each other's point, and we get to a point. Most of the time, we get to a conclusion of it.
And that's how you learn too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Before we end, I want to make an announcement. Before we end, but I mean, we don't have to do that right this minute.
Oh, you can go ahead and make the announcement. We're getting close. We got about 8 minutes left, so go ahead with that announcement. It's pretty exciting. We're gonna have a special guest next week. I'll let Anthony tell you the rest.
What?
That's right. We're going to have a special guest next week. His name is Tommy. I don't know his last name, but he goes by That Flat Fellow on YouTube. Great friend, great brother, super, super smart. He's
Very.
a pilot. I think he's an engineer, isn't he, Brian?
Yes. He knows his stuff, yes.
He definitely knows his stuff, but he's got some very, very interesting stuff about Atlantis and the country and city and the actual people of Atlantis, the Atlanteans and stuff. I've actually seen this presentation like a short version of it, and it's really, really good. He does a really good job of presenting it, and we're gonna have him on next Saturday for him to present the Atlanta stuff that he's got, and we're gonna have a little chat with him about it, ask him questions and whatnot, and gonna be one for the record books in my opinion. I just don't know if it could get any better than.
Whenever Tommy digs his nose in to the ground, digs his nose in, he pulls out a lot of good information. And I've been by his side many times, and Tommy knows his stuff. That flat fellow, he knows his stuff. Period.
I'm really excited about it. I haven't personally done that much research into Atlantis, but my kind of thought, before we obviously have him, Tommy on and go over that discussion, is I always thought that probably Atlantis or a similar place was kind of the capital of the first world order being ran by the fallen angels and their offspring. And then,
Bingo.
yep, and then that correlating to all the high technology creations. Me personally, I think like the pyramids and most of the monoliths were pre-flood, and this all had to do with something about their technology or their society, possibly even being a way to store, information and or technology. So because if something ever happened, i.e. flood, they would have that information saved. So yeah, I'm super excited to learn from someone who's dived deep into this and see all the jewels and diamonds that he's pulled out for that.
So basically, next Saturday's forecast is cloudy with a chance of gravy tsunami, is what you're saying, Vader?
Heavy gravy fall expected. It's also a warning of may cause gammas to spiral.
Oh, yep, definitely. We need to have that as a like a warning for this channel. It may cause gammas to spiral.
I don't want to steal Austin's thing, but yeah, maybe something along those lines. And then I'm really excited to get into Atlantis because the next step from that is the flood and the reasoning for the flood, and there's so much to learn and to dive down into when it comes to post-flood giants, Nephilim, all that jazz. So I'm super excited to go that. Now, I have another announcement to make. Unfortunately, the songs that we've been playing, all the videos were copyright claimed for that. Now, we're not making any money. We have to have 1,000 viewers and like 4,000 hours of view time for us to even make a couple pennies from the views. And we're not doing this about that. Mostly that funds would go into making this production better, as well as funding our Discord so that we can get Nitro and be able to post bigger clips and things like that. But anyways, we won't unfortunately be throwing out a song tonight. So with that announcement, I also want to say it to those in the stream, those that will watch this later. If you are down to, if you're a musician, if you're interested in putting your music out there and working with us and getting some of that, some of your music out there, we'd love to talk to you. Go ahead and join our Discord, and we can definitely look into that, and hopefully we'll get a good fit. And other than that, yeah, it sucks that happened, but where one door is closed, another one will open.
Exactly.
Amen.
All right, well, we're coming down to the wire. We'll go ahead and say our goodbyes for all of those that want to. So let's hear it, Anthony.
Well, I just dropped the Discord link in the chat. Yeah, like Vader was saying, if y'all want to join, man, y'all welcome to join. We'd love to have you. I very much appreciate and love every one of you for doing what you do, hanging out with us, showing up and visiting with us, because I tell you, in these times, it's not many people we can talk with
Exactly.
on a personal level like this. And I just love the fellowship with everyone. Much love to everyone. Many blessings. Shabbat shalom. And I hope to meet each and every one of you at Take on the World.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's hear from you, Nick. Say your goodbyes for the night.
No, yeah, Anthony said it really well. I feel the same way. Really blessed by everyone, and I mean, this is just exciting to be just on that cutting edge of just wondering about the Father and the mysteries and just talking about it. Like I'm on the edge of my seat for these things, and I feel like I try to take advantage of asking a lot of questions. So yeah, again, I'm very much blessed by you guys, and I'm looking forward to next week. Everyone have a great week.
Absolutely. All right. Let's thank you for that. Go ahead and say your piece, BV.
Hey, it's the same thing here. I love the back and forth with you guys, the chats. It's just learning new things with the whole group. We think alike, but yet we're still got our own thing, and that brings everybody to the table, or everybody brings something to the table. I love that. And like I said before, can't wait to the show next week too. And thank you all.
Awesome. All right. Fury, you want to say anything as we're shutting down? He may be muted. If you do, I'll let you go after me. No worries. Yeah, obviously everyone already said it. It's a great place to fellowship. It's a great place to share your ideas and your puzzle pieces. And just we keep moving towards the Father. And what more can we ask for in this existence is to get closer to Him. So I implore you again, please come and join us, and let's have some awesome conversations. And other than that, I hope that all of y'all have a good rest of your Shabbat. That you have wonderful weeks. The week to the week that week that's coming, and yeah, please share and like and subscribe. Share it with people anywhere you can, because the more puzzle pieces we can get to the table, the better we are going to get at putting that puzzle together. So thank you all again for being here. Unfortunately, again, yeah, we don't have a song to cut you out with. So we'll just say bye, and until next time, remember that ABBA loved y'all first.
Well, one thing I just want to let everybody know, just because the stream ends doesn't mean the conversation ends. We usually carry on after this in the Discord. If anybody wants to join, feel free. Much love to everybody.
Much love, everyone. Good night. And we're off.